Now, I know most of you have played D&D and other tabletop role-playing games before, but did you know that one of the biggest online RPGs has its roots in D&D too? World of Warcraft might seem like a different world altogether, but it owes a lot to the original fantasy game that started it all. Welcome to Geek Philosophy, where we love geeky wisdom. If you're new to the channel, I'm Brian, and today we're going to dive into how Dungeons & Dragons helped shape one of the biggest games of all time, World of Warcraft. Without Dungeons & Dragons, World of Warcraft may have never existed, at least not in the form that we know today. And even though the two games were separated by decades, they share a common journey. Let's start with D&D. When it first emerged in the early 1970s, it wasn't about deep character arcs and cinematic plots. It grew out of a miniature wargame called Chainmail, created by Gary Gygax and Jeff Perrin. And in Chainmail, players were controlling medieval armies, not individual heroes. It was about movement and positioning and winning battles, very much in the spirit of traditional wargames. That's where they started. But tucked away in the rulebook were a few optional rules for fantasy elements: wizards, dragons, magical artifacts, that kind of stuff. And those pages opened up the door to something new. It shifted between commanding armies to playing individual characters. And I'm really condensing stuff down a lot here, but D&D was really born out of that. The idea of commanding a specific person and a character instead of an army. Let's look at the parallel. In the early 1990s, Blizzard Entertainment released Warcraft: Orcs and Humans. And just like in early D&D, Warcraft was firmly rooted in that tactical play. You built your area, you developed resources, you outmaneuvered your enemies, you sent troops into battle. But as Warcraft grew, Blizzard started weaving in deeper stories and memorable characters and world-shaping conflicts. And Warcraft 3 pushed this even further, introducing hero units that gained levels. And you could find magical items, and you could shape your story through actions. It's the same kind of evolution that D&D went through decades earlier, from mass tactics into individual heroism. So when Blizzard launched World of Warcraft in 2004, it was the natural step. Players weren't commanding armies anymore, they were heroes. They were individual adventures, choosing their path, forming parties, exploring dungeons, and taking on epic quests. Sound familiar? And just like D&D players around the table, WoW players shaped their own experiences inside a living, breathing fantasy world. And the parallels don't stop there. Character classes like Warrior, Rogue, and Mage, those are directly inspired by the classic D&D archetypes of Fighter, Thief, and Magic User. The playable races, humans, elves, dwarves, orcs, all the same staples that you find in D&D. Health points, mana pools, armor classes, all trace back to D&D in some way, shape, or form, even the basic rhythm of play, creating a character, forming parties, taking on dungeons, collecting loot, leveling up. It mirrors what you do at the table in D&D. But it's not just the mechanics. A lot of Blizzard's earlier developers openly credited D&D as a major influence. Chris Metzen, one of the original creative leads behind Warcraft's world and lore, has said D&D was his after-school activity growing up. And playing D&D taught him how to build worlds and tell stories. And WoW didn't really appear in a vacuum. It was also inspired by online games like EverQuest, which brought large groups of players together for raids, guilds, and adventures in a living fantasy world. Jeff Kaplan, one of WoW's original dungeon designers, known in-game as Tygol, came directly from EverQuest. So really, at the heart of both of these games, both at the table and online, is shared adventures with friends. In D&D, it's a group of people at the table battling monsters and shaping the story together, but in WoW, it's a very similar thing. It's players teaming up in raids and going through dungeons and building bonds, overcoming challenges. So whether it's a pen and paper campaign or a raid into Molten Core, it's the same spirit. The same love of adventure and imagination and heroism. And just like D&D groups form long-lasting parties or adventuring guilds, the World of Warcraft players can form guilds of their own. Guilds aren't just social circles, they create shared spaces where players coordinate raids and help each other to complete tougher quests. They even stockpile useful items and gear for the entire group. There are even guild banks that let players pool resources and mentor new members and strengthen the entire community. In many ways, a WoW guild mirrors the kind of organized play that D&D has developed over time. And even the Adventurers League for D&D's 5th edition. In Adventurers League, players can create persistent characters that adventure across different tables and DMs and events, all within a shared and structured world. So whether it's an adventuring company questing across the Forgotten Realms, or a guild tackling Blackwing Lair, the spirit is the same. A community of players working together to write their own legends. In the end, both D&D and WoW charted a similar course. They started as a tactical game that evolved into platforms for personal storytelling. They turned strategy into imagination and competition into collaboration. And they invited us not only to play, but to become heroes. Which brings me to something new to the channel. We're launching a new series called WoW Wednesdays, featuring Crystal as she plays through World of Warcraft and provides a little commentary. Crystal has been playing since vanilla WoW, and she'll be sharing her adventures, her insights, and experiences from a longtime player's perspective. And who knows, Ethan may even join her from time to time for a little mother-son gaming session. And since both of them play in our D&D home campaign, I'm especially curious to see how Crystal connects the dots between tabletop role-playing games and the online play in WoW. She's already done that a little bit since she moved from WoW to D&D. I'm curious to see how it goes the other way. But what do you think? Do you see any major connection between WoW and D&D that I might have missed? Let me know in the comments below. And if any of this rang true for you, be sure to like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any of our other videos in the future. You can also sign up for our Geek Philosophy monthly newsletter and get a free campaign planning guide. The link's in the description below. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes it's good to step away from the group and chase your own adventure. Cheers.